Hey guys, welcome back to the Independent Reporter, and today we're doing a actual lifetime um, follow-up on the United States election. This one is on the day I'm recording it, thank God, August 10th, and we're going to be talking about how Trump fell apart. And now you all probably know this about in the news. Trump's in a really bad position here. The election's going really far in favor of the Democrats. Kind of like what Trump had before in August, but a little bit stronger. But that being said, Trump wasn't scratching away the Democratic states, well, except for parts of Maine and New Hampshire. He wasn't really scratching away the Democratic ones like how Clinton's scratching away the Republican ones. Look at Georgia, for example, or parts of Nebraska or Arizona. Um, you can maybe even argue Nevada, but I still consider that a swing state. So as you can see, it's not pretty, to say the least. Clinton's got a huge lead, and it's not looking good for Trump. So I'll use another site that I constantly go on. I like to see a bunch of things, but don't take the percentages for 100% certain. It says Clinton right now has got a 94% chance to win, but the reason why I like looking at this is you can see all the different chances of winning for each state. Anyway, the website's called project.35. It's 538.com. You can see the link on screen right now. And you can also scroll down here and see where things went wrong and where things did not. So as you can see, Clinton had a huge lead this whole time. And this drop here was about the Benghazi emails, all that stuff with the FBI, the persecution, when people really started thinking, and the Democrats in particular, thinking that Clinton really is not the most trustworthy person in the world, but it wasn't enough to knock her out at first. The first place knock came out really around here at the end of the convention, and that's where Trump went up. And as you can see, there was a huge collapse. Now, before I go on, I'd like to point out that Trump has been not in this worse of a situation, but it's pretty dire. As you can see, around June, it was about that bad. So Trump could make another surge, but I'd like to point out that, even though someone like Julian Assange can throw something at Clinton again, he's said that he's got stuff. I don't think it will be as damaging as the FBI coming out and saying, Clinton did something wrong. And on top of that, Trump also had support from a convention. The debates possibly could give him a boost, but I don't think it will. So it is possible, but it's highly unlikely that he could come back. So we could also look at how the states are going. Not too much interesting here. I'll let you guys check it out on your own. Again, project.538.com. Really, really a good resource to use. You can see past historical bursts in voting and all that stuff. So anyway, what's it mean for now? Well, first of all, how did Trump really mess up? What things really killed him? So, if you know from the news, you know what all happened, but which things were important? Now, I think I think Purple Star or something like that. The one where if you're injured in battle, you get a star for, well, I guess being injured in battle for consolidation. I'm not too big with the United States military, so I don't know too much, but still, it's along the lines of an injured soldier gets hurt, they get this medal. Now, it was given to Donald Trump. I don't think his response really hurt him in the polls, but his response was really not that good. He could have phrased it in much better ways, much more popular ways, in order for people to say, "Oh yeah, we trust this guy." But instead, it made it sound like he always wanted one. He specifically said he always wanted one, um, which is not really what you want to say about a medal that you get from being injured. I don't think you want anyone to have that. So he made that phrase. He misspoke there. Not misspoke, but he said a wrong thing. Something he shouldn't have said. Also, because he didn't go to Vietnam, he deferred it many times. That hurt his reputation quite a bit. Um, but the crying baby thing as well. I don't think that impacted him much, but that still was not the best thing to look at. But what I really think it came down to was the way that he responded to the Khan family and his foreign policy. I'd say the foreign policy is the biggest one here, but the Khan family, it hurt quite a bit. To me, I don't see it hurting the demographic that much, but it still did get like, those fringe Democrats that like, maybe we can vote for Trump because we hate Clinton. And essentially the common thing was at the Democratic National Convention, some speakers called out Donald Trump saying that they've never given up anything, and it was a clear target at like his foreign policy in terms of Muslim immigration and stuff like that, saying that, Muslims are true Americans. Now, I'm not sure if he believes in like his whole foreign policy, like not allowing immigration, all that stuff. I'm not sure if he specifically believes all Muslims, even in the United States, are bad or not. From personal experience, living around well, I'm from Canada, so I'm from like the parts bordering New York, but still, the Northeast area, people in North America generally have the same values. So it's really rare that you'd find actual racist people who are moderately civilized. Like he did go to a decent university and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if he'd actually be racist. But that being said, the comments were quite racist, and to attack Muslims in the United States who are actually American citizens, especially one who served, that for many people is too far because, I mean, I don't want to justify the foreign policy at all, but saying that Muslims outside the United States who are not citizens, attacking them is one thing, but attacking an actual American citizen is completely different, and that angered many, many, many people on both sides. And the response was saying the wife wasn't able to talk and all that stuff. Again, if this was an international family, maybe that would pass. Maybe he'd be able to get some support. But because it was an American, the wife, saying that the wife wasn't allowed to talk, well, they are Americans, so I mean, there's no reason why the wife would not be able to talk. So stuff like that, it really didn't resonate well, and that's what the media played most of this up to. Now, that without a doubt had some impact, but I think the biggest impact was the way his foreign policy was worded and stuff like that. So I believe about on the same day or within 1 or 2 days, he released a bunch of foreign policy news things and videos, and a bunch of people commented on them, saying that Donald Trump doesn't actually understand the use of nuclear weapons. Now, I'm not sure if it's completely fair because I've watched all his speeches about this, and basically what he said was that if we have nuclear weapons, why don't we use them? And that he will never rule them off the table, but he would never use them. Now, yes, that is a contradiction, but I mean, from what I gather, I believe that he literally meant that, we're not going to allow our allies to think that we would never use them. Like, a lot of people criticize Obama for having his red line and then it just passes by. And I think that's what Donald Trump said. He's like, there's a red line and we will not allow you to pass by it. It just happened to be about nuclear weapons, something that no one wants to talk about. And to be honest, something that's not really in the news. So I think it was a little bit of a baity question. And I don't know if Trump should have answered with that kind of statement to the nuclear weapons. I mean, you can always say that, would you allow ground force? You say, I don't want to be in wars, but if there comes a time, we will use it. That to me, that is like a red line answer, saying that we will back up our red line, without being inconsistent. Saying with nuclear weapons, yes, I understand. If Russia uses the nuclear weapons on the United States, he can say that he will use nuclear weapons back, and that's what he's trying to get to. But the United States doesn't really face much nuclear threats in the world, especially from terrorism. You can't just say, if we're bombed by terrorists, we will nuke the crap out of where they're from, because you don't. It's terrorism. It's not like an actual country. So, in terms of that, it wasn't the best example, but I do understand what he was trying to get at. The whole red line, and we will back it up, and blah blah blah. But again, what it basically sounded to a bunch of independents, people who maybe don't want to look too much into it, it sounds like he will use nuclear weapons randomly. And a bunch of trade people don't like this as well. So the independent voter section, which I believe is about 10 to 20% of Americans, which in almost every election decides who wins the election, I believe that they're kind of jumping ship and going over to Hillary Clinton, because they were with Trump before, because Trump was against the Iraq War and a bunch of other things. And I'm not saying that, there's controversy if he really was, but he still does say that now. And Clinton, her record as Secretary of State is not the most amazing. She has been directly involved in many wars. So a lot of independent voters will be like, we might want to try Trump. We know Clinton is like the epitome of allowed Iraq, started Syria, all this different stuff. So, if Clinton is the worst you can get, maybe Trump might not be the worst. But then when you start throwing around discussions about nuclear weapons and questions about why we can't use them, that becomes scary. And personally, and I don't like to put too many personal opinions onto this channel because I believe that I try to get like an independent view from this. But personally, I don't like Hillary Clinton's foreign policy experience. I view that about the same as like the Bush era, the Obama era. Both eras were fed up with a lot of wars. Bush had his Iraq and Afghanistan, which were blatantly bad, but Obama also had a lot of his other proxy wars, like Syria and all that stuff, which were like kind of like on the sidelines, but still quite bad. Now, I don't exactly blame Obama, and maybe I don't exactly blame Bush, because Bush was, for the most part, fed pretty bad information. And I don't want to make excuses for anyone, really, to be honest. But usually what I blame would be the foreign policy and the Secretary of States. And Hillary Clinton's one of the people that I would directly respond to as someone who does not have very good Secretary of State experience. Same with John Kerry and the Secretary of State during the Bush era. I forget who it was, but anyway, I do not hold them in very high regard. But that being said, even if Trump is better at doing international politics, the thing that scares me is he could be better for 99 days, but that one day if he uses a nuclear weapon, it's not. And that's a feeling that is very common right now for a lot of people in and around the United States, especially a lot of Trump supporters, the fringe ones I'm specifically speaking to. A lot of fringe supporters were like, we want Donald Trump because he could be better, but there's a small chance he's not. But they will ignore it and just say he's not. He will be better. And then some of these people are kind of waking up and realizing it's quite bad. So that's just like my personal experience from that, and from what I gather about a lot of the independent people who are okay with Democrats or Republicans. And I don't want to get like based too much off of that, but that's why I think the whole foreign policy thing was very important, because after he made comments about that, that's when the swings started to happen. And to be completely fair and honest, I don't think the Khan family really destroyed that much of his base. I don't think it chipped that. Like, look at the polls in Texas right now. It's about a 25%, 26% chance that Clinton could win. I don't think many of that was because of the comments made about the Khan family. I think it was more, honestly, about his foreign policy experience and the comments he said. Also, with his tax returns and stuff like that, it's not looking that good. The way he's done with the trade deals, all that stuff. Basically, with the trade deals, you're appealing to people who are essentially Bernie Sanders supporters, or maybe even Ted Cruz supporters. The very extremist sides, and yet the people that you're fighting for in almost every election is the centrist side. So when you take extremist views, you kind of alienate yourself from the center, which usually weakens you up for the other party to take over, and that's exactly what Clinton did. So it's not like loss of unity on the Republican side, honestly. That did come after when he refused to support Paul Ryan and all that stuff until again he flopped. But the biggest thing why it flipped, what came down to the centrists, the independents, decided to go back over to Hillary Clinton, and that's what gave her the edge in almost all these states. And that's what it's going to come down to. If Trump can come back and appeal to the independents, then possibly he could win them back. But ultimately, after all these mess ups, I don't think it's possible to win them back. I think these will probably stay very similar to the way it was. So, yeah, that's... In my last video, I spoke about what Donald Trump would have to do to lose it. It would be completely ridiculous and amazing and, monumental in order to lose this lead. And he did. He gave up the support of the independents and the centrists. And in every election, that's how you lose. Whoever gives up the independents, like Mitt Romney gave them up with all his comments near the end of the election, he ended up losing the election itself. So, when the most important people that you want to win an election are alienated, you can never win an election. So, yeah, that's it for this video. My next video, I'll be talking about what are some options for the Republican Party, because At this point, it looks very, very grim. And with all the news stories about people not trusting Trump and all that stuff, I don't think Trump will be able to claw this back because he doesn't have the support left in the party. Sorry for all you Trump fans. I don't want Clinton to win. I also not really happy if Trump wins, but both sides for me are bad. But you know, Trump could pull it together. You'll need to see the good side of Trump, not the bad side of Trump. But the way it's looking like right now, he's not appealing to the majority of Americans, and he won't be able to win it. So again, sorry to everyone. Many of a lot of you will probably disagree with me, but this is not the Trump that can win an election. Anyway, hope you like, subscribe, comment. I will try to respond to your videos and all that stuff. And in my next video, I will talk about what the Republican Party can do next. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a good day.